Welcome to the second of our four-part series during this Small Business Month, all focused on business success. My name is Mishka Balsam, and on behalf of my colleagues, thank you for joining us over this lunch hour. How do you build a business that stands out, is memorable, and builds trust with your audience so that your business is the preferred choice? Some say you start by creating an authentically human brand that deeply aligns with your values and those of your ideal clients. And for that dialogue, we are joined by Laura Beauparlant, founder and chief brand alchemist of Lab Creative, for this engaging, interactive, and thought-provoking talk, and to learn what a brand is, what your brand is really saying about you and your company, and why the key to success is chemistry. You will learn to make your business organization stand out, to build trust with your audience, and to be key to the success of your clients. And this month, a business success series is powered by Meridian Credit Union, an organization deeply committed to community and small businesses. It's Ontario's largest and Canada's second largest credit union, helping to grow the lives of more than 370,000 members through their 89 branches and 15 business banking centers, managing over $26 billion in assets. Their 1,900 employees are experts offering a full range of financial products and services. And thank you. I want to express that for all that you do, not only for the individual members, but also for the greater community at the same time. And we're really thrilled to have partnered with Meridian earlier this year on a special partnership, an exclusive offer for you as a business and for your employees that is in place, that actually offers you preferred banking offers and fantastic perks for your employees. I also would like to acknowledge that we're joined today by the St. Catharines Enterprise Center, who is a topic sponsor and who will be joining us midway through the webinar. And on that note, it is my pleasure to actually welcome Richard Madum and Brock Lewis, both with Meridian Credit Union, senior small business advisors with the organization, who are here to take actually the webinar from here. Richard, over to you.
Thank you, Mishka. Good afternoon. Welcome to the GNCC Small Business Month Success Series powered by Meridian. As Mishka mentioned, my name is Richard Madume. I'm a senior small business advisor at Meridian. I am part of the Niagara Business Banking team, and I'm joined by my colleagues, Brian Burton, our branch manager at our Fonthill branch and our Vineland branch, and Brock Lewis, senior small business advisor. As Mishka mentioned, Meridian is the largest credit union in Ontario and the second largest in Canada, with over 75 years of banking history. Meridian exists to help Canadians have a better life, and that includes supporting your business. That's why every Meridian business member has a dedicated small business advisor. Today, I would also like to make you aware that Meridian is proud to partner with the Ontario Chamber of Commerce in bringing the exclusive OCC affinity program to all its membership. What this means is, as a member of the GNCC, you're eligible for the benefits of this program. If you are a member of Meridian, if you are a business member that belongs to Meridian or would like to become one, we encourage you to check out the details of the OCC affinity program. There is a link in the chat, and you can also find more details on the GNCC website under the members and benefit tab. Highlights are reduced account fees, new member signing bonus, and benefits that you can pass along to your employees. Thank you for attending today. I will hand it over to my colleague, Brock Lewis, who's going to introduce today's speaker.
Thanks, Richard. Today we have with us the Lab Creative's Laura Beauparlant. As the founder and chief brand alchemist at Lab Creative, she leverages her unique process to help entrepreneurs understand and embrace their magic and create explosive brands that stand out from the crowd, attract the right clients, and reach new levels of impact, influence, and success. As a speaker, Laura has been recognized for the chemistry she creates with her audience as she informs, inspires, and candidly shares insights into her own story of overcoming adversity and finding clarity in both life and business. Laura has an engaging presence and easy conversational style that captures her audience every time. I'll actually hand it over to Laura now to begin today's presentation.
Amazing. Thank you, Brock. And thank you, Richard and Mishka, for this, the amazing introduction and the opportunity to be here. All right, sharing my slides. Welcome to everybody as well who's joining us today. So I want to start by asking this question. Who here grew up baking with your parents, maybe your grandparents? You can, pop into the chat. I'm going to be asking questions throughout. So open up that chat if you want to participate and kind of play along with me. Let's have some fun here today. So if you did grow up baking, you might remember getting out all the ingredients, putting on your little apron, like this picture of me as a kid, pulling up a chair next to the counter so you could help with all of the measuring and the stirring. And, you'd probably lick the beater and if you were making cookies, you'd sample the dough, right? Obviously, who doesn't sample the dough? And you'd roll the cookies into little balls and you'd stand at the oven window watching these cookies bubble and rise, just waiting until they were ready to eat. And the house would fill with that delicious smell of cookies baking. Hope everybody's actually got some lunch that they're eating. So I might make you a little hungry with my presentation today. I'm sure you remember that smell. It would smell so delicious in the house. Maybe it didn't help with the baking, but you loved eating what was baked, right? Especially cookies fresh out of the oven, still warm and gooey, the chocolate melting in your hands. So one time when I was about 8 or so a bit older than I am in this photo, I decided, I don't need my mom's help. I've got this. I'm going to make these cookies all by myself. So I got out my grandmother's recipe book for oatmeal chocolate chip cookies, and that was my favorite. And her recipe was pretty old. It was handwritten and water stained and faded. It was a little bit hard to read, but I'd made these cookies before, so I figured I've got this. Well, I accidentally put in too much salt, like a lot too much salt. We're talking a 1/4 cup instead of a 1/4 teaspoon. Now, for those bakers that are here, you know that a 1/4 cup of salt is not the right measurement. And it gets worse. I actually made 4 times the recipe because we loved these cookies so much. So I'm super proud of myself because I'm making these cookies by myself. And of course, as I like to do, I sampled the dough. And I can still viscerally remember running to the sink, spitting it out, rinsing out my mouth with water. It was so disgusting. I was like, oh my God, what have I done wrong? I just ruined this entire batch of cookies. Now, I don't know why I put a cup of salt in. Like, as I said, I've made this recipe many times before, but for whatever reason, this time I made the mistake. I had the chemistry completely wrong. But I still love to bake, and my 9-year-old son loves to bake with me. In fact, we were watching the Great Canadian Baking Show, and he's like, "Mommy, we should be on this show." I'm like, our baking skills are not quite there, but I like his ambition, and I thought, hey, it's something to aspire to, right? So he got a baking book for Christmas from Santa a couple years ago, and we decided to bake these delicious looking lemon squares. So he pulled up a stool to the counter and he put on his apron just like I did as a kid. And we got out all the ingredients and we started with the shortbread cookie base. Followed the recipe, mixed everything up, put it in the oven to bake. We did everything right, or so we thought. It smelled buttery and delicious in the house. And 20 minutes later, when we pulled it out of the oven, it looked like this. Now, I don't know about you, but that is definitely not what a shortbread cookie base should look like. It was bubbly and crumbly. It wasn't set at all. It was bizarre and totally wrong. So we double checked the recipe. According to the book, we got it right. Then we went online and we found some different information. The book got the chemistry wrong. Even though we had all the right ingredients, we didn't have the right proportions, and it was a failed experiment. And the same can be said about your brand. You need the right ingredients in the right proportion at the right time in order to create chemistry with your audience. I call this brand chemistry. And what I've discovered is that this is key to success. So let me start by diving into what it really takes to create brand chemistry. So the first part is authenticity, a term that's kind of been overused over the last little while, and yet it is still so fundamental to your brand. Being authentic lets you create a brand that deeply aligns with you. It creates a brand that is just effortless to be. And it's a magnetic energy that ultimately draws the right clients to you. You know those clients, the ones that get you, that connect with you, and the ones ultimately that will pay you what you deserve. Now, I came across a stat recently that said 86% of consumers say that authenticity is a key factor when deciding what brands they like and support. That's a pretty high percentage. So visibility is the next piece, and being visible means just getting in front of the people you want to work with as often as possible, not hiding and not showing up. The key really is showing up and being memorable and creating valuable content. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it needs to be out there into the world and valuable to your audience, because you've got to be seen and heard in order to be remembered. And last but absolutely not least, probably first in some ways, is the consistency. Consistency is so important and fundamental. And the best way to maintain the integrity of your brand is by being consistent in the look and feel, your messaging, and in your frequency. Your audience needs to immediately recognize you when you show up, right? You want to stop that scroll and have them know that that is you. So if you're authentic, this part will be easy. But if you're trying to be something you're not, emulate your competition, whatever that is, then this will feel really, really hard. So at the intersection of authenticity, visibility, and consistency, that's where brand chemistry lies. And when you have irresistible brand chemistry, your customers are they're drawn to you and they love paying you. That's right. These clients will actually be happy to pay you for the work that you do. And today, I want to show you how to create an authentically human brand, one that stands out, is memorable, and builds trust with your audience so that you are the only choice for them. So let me ask you this. Who here feels like you're one of many choices for your clients? Feel free to put a yes in the or no into the chat if you want to share that with me. Who here feels like you're one of many choices? So who here also thinks that your customers will leave you if your prices increase? One last question. What if there was a long wait to access your services? Who here would see potential clients choose a different option? Right, think about those questions. You're not alone if you answered yes to those. Most of you probably have okay brands, but you don't necessarily have brand chemistry. That irresistible brand chemistry makes you the only choice for your customers. It will have them willing to pay for your services and have them lining up and waiting for you when you can serve them, willing to wait because they know they have to work with you. So I could ask you to name any brand right now, and a brand would immediately come to mind for you. Could be a famous sports brand, a technology brand, a fashion or apparel brand. There are literally millions to choose from. So why is that one standing out for you? Well, when you think about a brand, it needs to be memorable. It needs to build trust so that it is the only choice for those it is looking to attract. And in order to do this, you need to think about creating an authentically human brand, one that deeply aligns with your values and those of your dream clients. These brands probably do this, and because they do this, they've created chemistry with you. They've put the right ingredients in the right order at the right time in order to align with you. That's brand chemistry. This is what I want for all of you, and I want you to take away this powerful process. So fundamentally, I believe that brand chemistry is about creating relationships. And the reality is that many businesses are missing the authentically human side of their brand that allows you to create those deep and meaningful relationships. I used to straighten my hair to look more professional. That's not authentic. I used to play small, but that didn't allow me to have the impact that I desire. And I used to fear the judgment of others. That held me back from shining bright. Any of this sound familiar to anybody? Your stories may be different from mine, but whatever they are going to hold you back from standing out and creating those deep and meaningful relationships and from growing your business. It's time to create a heart-to-heart connection with your audience rather than a brain-to-brain connection, right? That's really important. Let me say that again, heart-to-heart connection with your audience, not a brain-to-brain connection. You want them to choose you because you're the only choice, not because you're cheaper or more conveniently located. And by the end of our time together today, you'll know how to create an authentic heart-to-heart connection with your dream clients. And I really believe in this process. I've seen it transform entrepreneurs and their businesses. I know what it's like to have a brand that doesn't connect. That's one of many options where getting new customers feels like a grind, or where you're constantly in a place of working hard. And I know this because many of my clients come to me in this place. And the tools I'm going to share with you today are the exact tools that I use to help my clients. So here are 3 things that I want to cover today. What is a brand and why does it matter? What your brand is really saying. This might surprise you. And last but not least, how to create brand chemistry. So I've been a designer for over 20 years and an entrepreneur for over 17. And in that time, I've learned that it takes so much more than just being really good at what you do to start and run a successful business. You need a brand, but what is a brand? For a term that's thrown around so much, branding is still so misunderstood. So let's first start by getting clear on branding and why it matters. And we'll stick with the cake analogy. There we go. My slide just changed. All right. So to the outside world, your brand looks like one thing, right? Like this beautifully decorated cake. It's a cohesive whole that looks and smells amazing, but it's only when you cut into that cake and you see beyond the sprinkles and icing to see it's actually made up of many different layers. And all of those layers are made up of a collection of perfectly measured ingredients, right? You've got the eggs, the flour, vanilla, sugar, and everything else all working together in harmony to give your cake substance so that it doesn't just look and smell great, but that it tastes amazing as well, right? Because a cake that's made up of sprinkles and icing lacks substance, just like a brand that's all logo and website. When I say brand, I'm not just talking logos. While a logo is an important part of representing your brand, something we do, it's only really one layer of your cake. When I say brand, I mean how you make people feel. It's the experience people have when they work with you or buy your product, and the image you project when you put yourself and your business out into the world. So let me ask you this. What is the experience people have with you? Take a moment. I want you to really think about that. For many of you, you might be thinking they aren't really receiving an experience. They're just buying a service or a product. Some of your customers might feel like they're a number, maybe like they're just not that important or that special to you. Maybe for some of your clients just feel like you get them. Maybe for some of you, your clients feel supported and cared for, maybe even loved. Yes, your clients can feel loved by you. Regardless of where you are with this, what I know from many of the brands I work with is that even if their customers feel supported and cared for and loved, my clients didn't really understand why. And they feared that one day their customers would turn away from them. So what you really need to do is make a promise to your customers. Regardless of whether your brand is a simple commodity or a well-loved service, your brand is the reason they choose you over anyone else and why they will continue to come back to you year after year. Your brand is the promise you make to the world. It's what you stand for. It's what you believe in. It's why you started this business in the first place. So your brand needs to drive everything you do and how you do it, from how you answer the phone to how you represent yourself in person, in marketing, and on social media. And obviously, the quality of the products and services and the experience that you offer. Right now, you might be thinking, but how do I get there? Where do I even start? Well, it certainly doesn't start with a logo. It starts with the clarity and confidence that you need to authentically represent your brand and connect with the right clients. Ultimately, your brand starts with you. You need to do the deep work first. So I'm going to ask you 3 questions to get us started. First one is, what does the external world think of you and your brand within your space, within your industry? Question number 2, what problem does your brand solve in the world? And question 3, who are you and who is your brand? Now, these are hard questions to answer. We really have to peel back a lot of layers and go deep within. So let's start with that first question. What does the external world think of you and your brand? Ask yourself, are you memorable and remarkable? Do you show up consistently? Do you stand out in the crowd, right? How are you showing up? What does that external world think of you? So let's take a look at a sample category. If there's any naturopaths in the space, give me a little shout out here. So I've worked with several naturopathic doctors and clinics. So for fun, I decided to Google naturopathy, and this is what came up. What do you see? Let me know in the chat. And if you can't, I'm just going to answer for you. I'm going to assume that you are going to think green and leaves, right? A lot of green. These are the conventions that drive this market with very few exceptions, although I'm on a mission to change this. And this page goes on a long way. You can scroll and scroll and everything really starts to blur together. It looks like they're all promising the same thing, right? Naturopathic medicine. And then we dig a bit deeper, we actually see some of these are stock images that look just like many of the logos that we saw already. You could buy any one of these for next to nothing, slap your name on there, Bob's your uncle, you've got a logo. Could do that. It's not really going to help you stand out. So how do you stand out amongst the sea of sameness? Well, for starters, you need to break from convention. Just because something's always been done a certain way doesn't mean it's the right way or the only way to do it. This is not a time to be a copycat or a wallflower. Blending in with your competition is not going to get you noticed and remembered. So now take a look at this page. This is still a search for naturopathic doctors, so you can assume everyone on this page offers a very similar service. But does one of them stand out as being different in what they're promising their customers? I'm going to assume by now you've all seen Dr. Lisa Watson. Maybe you're thinking that her and the Red Phoenix logo is different. And if I asked why, what would you say? You might think that she looks different than the others, and that perhaps because of this, the experience will be different. And it's true, she is not your typical naturopath. So take a moment to think about, what if we did a Google search in your industry? How would your logo show up in that search? Would it blend in like these green naturopathic logos? Does it show your customers will get the same service as everyone else in your space offers? Or does your brand stand out? And does it stand out for the reasons that you want? Does it indicate a unique experience your customers will have with you? So in Dr. Watson's case, she is bold, she's dynamic, authentic. To be honest, she's a bit of a badass. She hula hoops with fire. She has red hair and red lips, tattoos and piercings. And she needed a brand that reflected that. She doesn't prescribe, pun intended, to what her industry indicates is the status quo. So let's take a look at what it is about Lisa's brand that is memorable and really separates her from her competition. For starters, her logo is red, right? That's already a distinguishing factor. And color is important, but it's not the only thing. The phoenix symbolizes rebirth and regeneration and is the perfect icon to illustrate her essence from burnt out to fired up. This brand truly embodies Lisa and her promise to the world. It deeply and authentically aligns with her, from the color, the imagery, the hand lettering, and her essence, which is her tagline. But before we could get to the design of the outward visual expression of her brand, we needed to go deep and get clear on how she wanted to show up in the words and what she wanted her promise to be. So we had to do that deep work first. And we did that together through my brand camp process. So let's look at it this way. If we wanted to relate it back to baking, is Lisa a plain vanilla cupcake or a spicy chocolate cupcake? Let's get a poll going. Vanilla, spicy chocolate. I'm going to hazard to guess that you're thinking spicy chocolate. That's definitely what her brand says. Yeah, she is spicy in every way, shape, and form. And why shouldn't you have a brand that truly reflects who you are in your personality? Awesome, we've got some spicy. Spicy? Yeah, definitely bold. All right, so what is your brand promising? What are your customers taking away from your brand? Is it saying, I'm just like everybody else? Is it saying, I care, but not that much? Or is your brand saying, look at me, right? Is it saying to your audience that you offer a truly unique experience? Is it saying that you care deeply about them? Remember, you are in control of what the world thinks of you and your brand. And so you need to be deliberate. Really choosing to look like the rest of the businesses in your industry means you won't be memorable or remarkable. And more importantly, you won't be yourself. So are you a vanilla cupcake, a spicy chocolate cupcake? Perhaps you're a unicorn cupcake. There's no wrong answer. And if you know your flavor of cupcake, pop that into the chat for me as well. That's the beauty of being an entrepreneur. You get to make your own recipe. So are you still searching for that recipe? Do you feel like you have all the ingredients? You're just trying to figure out how to combine them and put them together to make something amazing. Or have you perfected your recipe and you're wondering, I've done this, what's next? What's the next level? So the next step is really identifying what problem your brand solves in the world. So why did you start this business? Take a minute if you want, you can close your eyes. Just think about that. There were likely thousands of things you could have done, but you chose this. Why? Perhaps you saw a need, maybe a problem that wasn't being solved or solved fully by others. You felt you could do something better. It's something you just love to do. So let's go 5 years into the future. How do you want this business to be? How do you want to feel? Who do you want to be working with? What is the impact you want to be having? How many of you found that easy to imagine your business in 5 years? How many of you kind of drew a complete blank? For those of you that found it easy, I want to ask you this. Do you believe the brand you have today will get you to the vision you have for your business 5 years from now? And for those of you that drew a blank and don't know where you're going to be in 5 years, if I'm honest, I'm not surprised. We've been in massively changing times. And because of this change, many people now have different problems to solve, and your business and brand will need to evolve with that. So now that you've gone through what your business could be in the future, let's come back to today, to now. Where are you now? Are you showing up differently in your industry? And if you have your eyes closed, you can open them back up, by the way. The reason is many of us are selling the same products and services. That's just the nature of business. Naturopaths are all selling a similar service, same with real estate agents, business coaches, even branding businesses. If I was selling logo or website design, I'd be competing against Fiverr and 99 Designs, and where you can always get something cheaper. But I'm not selling logos and websites, although we do those. I'm selling a transformation. I'm selling confidence and clarity. I'm selling a unique and powerful experience and process that produces compelling results. And when your brand becomes a problem solver to your specific audience, your products and services and solutions go beyond being a commodity. So think about it this way. When you take a vacation, you're buying how the vacation will make you feel. You're not buying the plane, right? The ticket is just the vessel to get you to that destination, right? You're buying the destination. So you're not actually selling the thing that you do. You're selling what people get from working with you. You're selling their most desired outcome. So tell me, what is it that you sell? If you want to share in the chat, happy to hear. I'd love to hear what everyone is selling and what you do. Do you think that that's what actually people are buying from you? I used to think I was selling branding. So I'll share a story. If you want to pop in, I'll share a little story. So I thought I was selling branding. I thought I was selling graphic design services. Then we started receiving testimonials that were all focused around how we made our clients feel and the experience they had when working with us. And I realized that while we are amazing at what we do, and we have to be, right? Just like you have to be amazing at what you do, it was ultimately the experience that won over our clients. And I really believe that there is magic in what people say about you. So I'll share another story. I see Andrea's yoga experience. That sounds lovely. I love that you didn't just say yoga, you said yoga experience. I'd love to hear more about that. So I met a woman at an event a few years ago, and there was this exercise where we had to spend 10 minutes with each other. And we each had 5 minutes to share what we do and a bit about us. And then we had to interpret back to our partner our perception of them and what they do. My initial thought was, how could somebody possibly get to know me well enough to give an insightful response? However, after 5 minutes of sharing what I do, my partner said to me, "You see deep into people's souls, pull out the best of them, and put it into words and visuals." That was like a total mic drop moment for me. I was at a complete loss for words. And I'll be honest, that doesn't happen to me very often. No one had ever described me in this way. And yet in that moment, I knew it was the most accurate and heartfelt description of what I do. And I never could have come up with that on my own, right? That's why there's magic in what other people say about you. So is what people are saying about you consistent with the problems you're solving and how you make people feel? You'll notice a theme throughout this about the feeling. It's not about the cerebral part. It's all about the heartfelt part. Do you actually know what people are saying about you? Have you asked them? Are they posting on social media? Are they telling their friends or their family? Pay attention to these cues because they will provide you with insights that you can't get these insights anywhere else because we're all too close to our own experiences, to our own products and services. And using the words that your clients use helps you build rapport and deeper connections. People buy the solution to the problem they have. So what is the problem your customers have? The key is to remember that you're not selling those milk, eggs, sugar, and vanilla, and so on, right? That's not what you're selling. You're selling the gorgeous, delicious, and fragrant cake. If you're selling the milk, eggs, and sugar, you're selling the same thing that everybody else is selling. What you're selling is the special recipe that you've created, and ultimately, you are the secret ingredient. So let's go back to Dr. Watson. Excuse me. She's such a great example of a truly memorable and aligned brand. I'm sure you'll never forget her. anybody needs a naturopath, I can hook you up with her. So Lisa focuses on women and solving the problems of women dealing with hormone imbalances, from infertility to menopause and everything in between. Women who are tired and burnt out from life, work and family, balancing it all. And this year has been a doozy for this. So understanding her client's biggest challenge and what problems they need solving, that's how we created the tagline from burnt out to fired up, right? It resonates deeply with her and how she wants to help women. And Lisa and her messaging and now her visual brand all are in alignment. Before they were out of alignment. Now, the right people will resonate deeply with who you are and the benefits they get out of working with you and how you make them feel, more so than the actual product or service you sell. You don't go to a naturopath for IV therapy and bioidentical hormones, right? You go to feel better, to feel like yourself, to get fired up again. You clearly know what problem Lisa is solving, who she's solving it for, and the promise that she is making. So, how do you make your clients feel? Take a moment right now and get into your clients' heads. Think about the promise that you've made to them. When they receive whatever it is that you're promising them, how do they feel? Are they excited, ambivalent, disappointed? Do they have any feelings at all? I want you to think, how do you want them to feel? Do you want them to feel like they won the lottery, like they're the luckiest person in the world because they found you, like they've been seen and heard, like you know exactly who they are? Now, how do you feel about your clients? Does it feel the same way? Now, the last one is who are you? So you've probably all heard the Maya Angelou quote, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So what do people remember about you and your brand when you're out of sight? This is the key really to figuring out who you are and how you're going to show up. So here's what Lisa Watson's old brand looked like. It's all right, but here's Lisa. This is what she looks like. What do you think your reaction would be if you booked an appointment with Dr. Lisa Watson, having seen this logo and never having met her or seen a photo, and you showed up at her office or a Zoom call, and this is who you met? You might actually be surprised because we make assumptions about people and businesses based on visual cues. If there's a misalignment between who you are and what your brand is telling people, then you're going to be attracting the wrong clients. So now let's look at Lisa and her new logo and her photo. Does this feel aligned and authentic? Do you know exactly what kind of naturopath you're going to get before you even walk in the door or the Zoom room? Now, she'll resonate with you or she won't. It's not about attracting everybody. It's about attracting the right people, right? I'm going to say that again, just to really hit that one home. It's not about attracting everybody. It's just about attracting the right people and a lot of those right people. So your brand really is showing who you are. To me, I see it as this beacon of light that you give out. And it says, hey, if you're like this, come here, right? Lisa is standing out. She is memorable and remarkable for all the right reasons. She's created her own recipe and now has the chemistry right. So think about your brand right now. Does it reflect who you are truly? Would somebody expect to meet you based on your online presence? Your brand needs to reflect you and your story, what you stand for, what makes you different, so that you can create that heart-to-heart connection with the right clients and become their only choice. Because when you're misaligned with your brand, you're hiding or inauthentic, your audience will feel that. So ask yourself these questions. Realize I'm asking you a lot of questions very specifically to really get you to start thinking deeply about this in a different way. So are you sending mixed messages? Do your clients clearly understand what you offer? Do they think you charge less than you actually do? Or do they think you actually offer something completely different than what they think you offer? That happens more than you would know. Are you trying to be something or someone that you're not? Right? Are you really a badass, but you're trying to be soft and sweet because that's what you think your industry expects of you? Or are you diluting your brand by being a jack of all trades and a master of none? Or are you trying to please everybody, but not really attracting anyone? And are you following what everyone else is doing, or maybe the conventions in your industry? Or are you jumping the barrier and forging your own path? The key to all of this really is to be in alignment with your brand. So are you aligned? Do you feel like something's off? Or is it easy to show up and represent your brand? Or does it feel hard, like you're, pushing a boulder up a hill? That's how I describe it. When you're misaligned with your brand, everything feels effortful. Do you feel connected to your brand, or are you embarrassed by it? What would it feel like if it was easy? I'd love for you to just take a minute and share that with me in the chat. If you're willing to share, what would it feel like if you could just be in complete alignment with your business and your brand? One word is good. Give me an adjective. Peaceful. Yeah, it brings a sense of peace. Absolutely. When you have that, just that knowing, like, I'm doing it and I'm doing it my way, and this feels right. Joy. Joy is a great word. I mean, we all started our business so that we could, be independent and do something we love to do. Feeling joy in our work, to me, is an essential part of it. And we lose that in the journey as we're trying to navigate how to run a business, right? This is where you connect with your brand on a human level. And it invites your clients, the right ones, the ones that align with you as well, to connect with you and your brand on a human level, right? It's not about the commodities. It's not about pricing and location and all of the logistics. It's about the human connection that you make with people. So these 3 questions I've shared with you, those key ones, really help you build out your brand and the promise you're making. Now, this pyramid shows our brand camp process and all of the elements that these questions begin to help us to answer. So that first step is to get clear on those external influences, right? The band in the pink. The clients you want to attract, who else is competing in your space. It's really getting that clarity around your competition and your target market. Then comes the deep work. We start to get a bit deeper, discovering what problems you're solving. This is all about gaining clarity and confidence around how you're different, why you do what you do, and the benefits people get from working with you. And finally, who are you? This is the core of everything you do. It's the way you show up, who you are in the world through your brand personality, your position, and your brand essence. So I use this analogy sometimes. I find it really helps people get a good sense of this, that most people are building their business like they're putting together a puzzle, but they don't have the box covered with the picture on it. Have you ever tried to put together a puzzle, but you don't know what the picture is that you're creating, right? Super difficult, very frustrating, right? You're trying to fit pieces together, but nothing's fitting, and you're frustrated and maybe you give up. Right. So by creating your brand foundation, this work, right, that I'm showing you here, you're creating the picture. So you know exactly what you're building and you know what pieces you need. This really allows you to be more proactive in what you're creating rather than reactive, going, oh my gosh, I need to do this, or this is shifting, right? It's like, you're constantly in reactive mode if you don't have that foundation set. That's when you start to create misalignment. That's when you start to follow what other people are doing rather than what you want to do. And this work brings you clarity and confidence and the knowledge that you need to bring all of these things to life. So now let's go back to those lemon squares that didn't work out. Kind of circle back to that. I'm sure you're just dying to know what happened to these. So I'm happy to report that our second attempt worked out. We started over. This time we had the right proportions, we put it all together in the right order, and we got the recipe right. Why? Because the chemistry was right. And successful baking is all about chemistry. It's about having all of the right ingredients, and the same can be said about your brand. You need the right ingredients in the right order at the right time in order to create brand chemistry. Because a brand is all about chemistry. I want you to think about your brand as uniquely and authentically human. You need to think about standing out and how you can build trust and build deep connections with your customers so that you are the only choice for them. Because when you have the right ingredients and you have the right proportions, and when you put it together and you do it all at the right time, brand chemistry is there. And when you have brand chemistry, you will have customer loyalty. So something I wanted to share with you today, something I've created recently, one thing that I've noticed is a big challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs is that they struggle with color. And I have a methodology that I've created for creating color. So I've got a PDF that you can download that shares a little bit more about color psychology. It's a great resource to start seeing, am I using the right colors, and to show you the power of using them consistently. So I've popped the link to that into the chat if you want to download that. And I know we've got some Q&A as well, but I'll show on the screen here. Okay, I've popped that into the chat. There's my email address, laura@labcreative.ca. You can follow us on social, Lab Creative Inc. We're kind of on all of the channels under that. If you do have follow-up questions, you want to chat about things in more detail, happy to connect with any of you. And I think now I can stop sharing my screen. I'll pop those links into the chat as well. And then I think we can get over to Q&A.
Laura, thank you so very much for this amazing presentation. It really does make you look at your brand, the message, even your customers, and all the details that you have. So thank you so very much. We have a high number of questions coming in, and I'm trying to get to some of them in just a few minutes that we have left. But before doing so, it is actually my great pleasure to bring Brock Belcher, who leads the St. Catharines Enterprise Center, into the conversation. He is today's segment sponsor, and he's also leading a team of professionals who offer business information, guidance, and professional advice on starting and running a successful business. So I couldn't imagine anyone better actually to hand over the microphone now in light of the discussion and your presentation. Rob, over to you.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity to reach out. And Laura, thank you. This talk was just so insightful and inspiring. I found it really, I'm sure, I'm not surprised to hear that there's lots of questions coming in, and I look forward to hearing you speak some more and answering those questions in a second. I do want to take this opportunity to say a big thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I do want to say a big thank you to Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce for putting this on, and to Meridian Credit Union for partnering in the series. It's so important to support and celebrate our local business community. So with that in mind, I'll just take like one more minute just to briefly explain what the St. Catharines Enterprise Center is and how we support local businesses in partnership with great organizations like the Greater Niagara Chamber. So we're one of 47 offices across Ontario that operate under the brand of Small Business Enterprise Centers. Together with the Niagara Falls Small Business Enterprise Center, we're here as a resource for Niagara's small businesses. We serve all of Niagara, and we're here to work with new businesses, existing businesses from across the region by providing information, resources, and programming to businesses as they start and grow. We do it through a variety of other ways, such as webinars and workshops. We have programs such as Starter Company Plus and Summer Company, which are training, mentoring, and funding programs. And we also coordinate a digital service squad. There are other municipalities coordinating similar opportunities as well, digital service squads. in support of the Digital Main Street program. And I think that's where I want to wrap up, is by highlighting the Digital Main Street program. Local brick and mortar businesses with up to 50 employees might be eligible for a digital transformation grant of up to $2,500. We're having great success with local businesses applying for and quickly receiving this digital transformation grant. Applications close October 30th. And I'll put in the chat in just a second a link to the Enterprise Center if you're interested in hearing more about how we support local small businesses. And I'll put in the chat a link to Digital Main Street, which is the funding organization for the grants that I mentioned as well. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us at the Enterprise Center. We're here to help you and your business succeed. And with that last thought, I do want to pass it back to Laura and Mishka, because Laura, I'm just enjoying your talk so much. What you say is so in alignment with the monthly webinar series we offer at the center. In fact, we often put up logos on the screen and we say, what do these make you feel? Because your brand is all about what people say your brand is and how you make them feel. So I've just sat back and just been cheering you on, thinking about what a great talk this is and how important it is for local businesses to take this in. And your example with the naturopath, I was looking her up while you're talking about her. I actually want to book in a consultation and go to Toronto and check it out. But thanks so much for this. And Mishka, great organization, great programming as always. I look forward to checking out next week too.
Thank you very much, Rob. Thank you for being with us. And I can't recommend Rob and St. Catharines Enterprise enough to all of you who are actually looking at expanding your business, growing your business, or starting a new business. The resources that are available to you to support your endeavor and your enterprise are endless. So I'm really glad to partner with you at any time. Laura, I'm trying to take advantage of these last couple of 8-9 minutes, and here are some of the questions that have come forward. One of the questions I thought was very interesting, and this is by Brad, and they're asked if there's a link between the brand and the brand image and people's vision, mission, and values that they have, because people spend a lot of time of saying, here's our corporate or company's vision, here's our mission and how we make it happen, here are our values. What is the link between that is being communicated and the brand? Which comes first, or how do they link together?
Yeah, it's a great question. They're all definitely tied together. So in the process I use with Brand Camp, it's the methodology that I've developed. I focus on developing a why statement. So that it's in alignment. We work on values of the clients and making sure they're aligned. To me, it's part of the process. We want to make sure that your audience is clear on why you exist. What is your mission? Because people will buy from companies that they believe in, who they are, what they do, why they're doing it, just as much as what it is that they're selling, right? So it's part of creating that deep connection. So to me, if you lead with why you do what you do, you'll be able to create a deeper connection. So as long as those values and the mission and the vision and all of that, whatever the languages you use, really aligns with the business and you live it and breathe it, and then it absolutely is part of it. It's, to me, I believe in doing that deep work first before we create the visual. The visual part of it, what you express in the world, needs to come after we figured out the messaging.
Yeah. That makes complete sense of it. The other question that had been texted to us, and this is by Diane, and they're asking about the sense of understanding that we have of our own brand, because often there's the sense we are too close to it. And her particular question was, do we need a third party to look at it and give us a true sense of what our brand is and what our brand is communicating? And I think there's great value in that, but I'm wondering, what are you?
Absolutely. The answer is absolutely yes. I do that often for people and provide that insights and show them things that they could never have seen themselves. Even, with Brand Camp, a lot of people say, oh, I've worked on writing a tagline and doing all these things. But we all need that outside perspective that, you can't see the forest for the trees is true. And most of the time it's all in there. You just need somebody to pull it out or to distill it down into something powerful. And even I hired somebody to help me with my branding. I brought in somebody to help me with my messaging and with the visual brand. I knew I was too close to it. Even though this is what I do for other people, I had to practice what I preach, but I knew that I didn't have the perspective. So there's always great value in getting a professional opinion.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree with you more. So much that the chamber does is actually related to communication, communicating with our members, the politicians, with the community. And we so often seek out a second eye on our communication because we're too close to it. We breathe it,
Absolutely.
we live it, and we hear it in a certain way. Now, there's another question, and that I thought was good. Can a company have more than one brand? In light of that, many companies and organizations have a very broad reach of customers. It's very hard to pull them together into the one group and saying, I'm in need of having this problem or problem A solved. So what about a company that has multiple target audiences? Should they have multiple brands, or does it all fall under one brand?
So that does depend. I did write a blog post on this. I don't have the link handy, but if you go to labcreative.ca to our blog, you can look up brand architecture. And I did a whole blog post around that, which would be really valuable. I could probably get it to you afterwards and you can always send it out. So there's a few ways to look at this. You can have a parent brand and sub brands that fit underneath that parent brand. So as an example, Lab Creative is my parent brand. Brand Camp is a sub brand or a child brand. My book is a sub brand. Me personally, I'm part of that, but if you go to our social media feed or our website, I could be talking about Lab Creative. I could be talking about our book, my book. I could be talking about Brand Camp. All of them align. I use the same color palette, the same fonts. They all have their own look and feel, but they all work together as a family. Alternatively, you could have sister brands. So you could have two that kind of require more separation. If they have like if you're, I'm thinking of an example, I have a client who creates like training for people. So one part of the brand is like an academy. She's training wellness practitioners in something. The other one is she's working directly with clients doing that work. So we've created sister brands for those. So they have a similar look and feel, slightly different naming, slightly different color palette, but they work together again, whether you're seeing one or the other. So there's just some high level, it depends on what it is. But today, most people might have a course, a podcast, they're a speaker, a book, any of those things are their own brand. It's just, how does that fit within the big picture of your business?
Yeah, no, it's an excellent point. And the last question we'll probably get to, just in light of the time, is actually a question that has come forward and saying that how have the last 18 months impacted people's brand and brand awareness? Have they? Has COVID somehow changed how we are relating to brand? Do we see a change in patterns on what people are looking for that might make me or make us realize we have to communicate differently, we have to solve some problem, the problems have changed, and the communication has to change at the same time?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I'll need more than 2 minutes to explain that. But in the meantime, I put in a link to if anybody wants to book a call with me to talk about their brand, I just popped in the link to my calendar there if anybody wants to book that. So, there's so much. I feel like there's such a great opportunity to really create a brand that has a voice. There's so much noise, and there's a lot of people that are just not necessarily doing a great job of being out there or doing it in a powerful way. There's never been a better opportunity to really position yourself powerfully in your industry. And one thing that I've seen is that there's a lot of use of vulnerability, and not necessarily the best way. So I really believe in curating your vulnerability and teaching from your scars, not from your wounds. Mm-hmm. This is something I talk a lot about. I've written about it. I talk about it a lot with my clients and through my social channels, that when you're in the midst of a crisis, that is not the time to go online and share what's happening in your world and your business. You share that later when you've gotten the learnings from it, and you can share something that could help your audience or show them, make them feel connected to you. So I feel like it's, and just because something happened doesn't mean you need to share it. So I feel like there's been a lot of oversharing. And so I think it's time to kind of look at what's relevant, what can I leverage, and what's going to help me create connection without overburdening my audience with what's happening in my life. And I think there's so much content, even more so than there used to be, that you've got to really be clear on your message and show up powerfully, and not just be constantly changing. That's where the consistency and that authenticity, not blending in and like, if you've got pink hair, just own it, right? Like just being big and bold in whatever you do, whatever that means to you, and just showing up that way, I think is the most, what I've really gotten from this and how I've seen my clients thrive is to just own who they truly are, and be visible and curate those stories that are relevant to them and their audience. That's the 2-minute version.
No, but I think you summarized it so perfectly, actually, as we are at the top of the hour. And I wanted to thank you for all that you have shared with us today. You are a wealth of information. And I think that all of us here and all of the ones who will actually view this and listen to this webinar after the hour's over, at the time when it's convenient for them, I think are going to get like a million ideas and concepts and questions that allow us to move forward differently. So thank you so very much for that. Also, my thanks go to Meridian Credit Union for in support of the Business Success Series that is there, and St. Catharines Enterprise for all that you do in support of businesses and young and new businesses in Niagara. This webinar, as you know, has been recorded, will be shared with everyone in attendance here, as will also be available on our site. But at this time, before we actually start our networking, I am joined by my colleague, Karina Mastercard, for a couple of prize giveaways that she has and that are available to you. And then I also would like to encourage you to join us next week for managing your dream team and your dream finances. Another really important aspect of running a very successful business. But on that note, let me pass it over to Karina.
Yes. Okay. So from Meridian Credit Union, we have a lovely planter, and Brad's going to show you a picture of what that looks like now. And that is going to Andrea McGee. Congratulations. And next we have Laura's fabulous book, Brand Chemistry. She's going to sign a copy and we'll get that to you. And that's going to go to Liam Jewell. Congratulations, Liam. So we'll follow up with you, Andrea and Liam, and we'll get you your prizes.
Karina, thank you so very much. That's wonderful. We're looking forward. Laura, again, thank you so very much for being with us. Honestly, I could chat for another hour or two, and looking at the questions that come forward, I don't think I'm the only one. So thank you for that.
Amazing.
And for all of you in the chat, we have put a link for our networking and getting us together for the next half hour. So if you hit the link, you will be kicked out of this meeting into the next one, but we hope to be able to catch up with you there for a more intimate one-on-one conversation. Laura, thank you. Thank you very much. And I have to have a cupcake now. I'm just telling you this. I have a sweet tooth. And when you started with the baking right around lunchtime, I thought, what do I have in my kitchen? So thank you for that.
Everyone go buy a cupcake from your local baker.
I think so. Sounds good. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.